This is the Undercover Guru podcast, and I am your host, Kolawole Akinboye. This podcast is devoted to helping people discover and thrive in careers that bring out the best in them and help them to generate superior value for the world. You are going to spend a good chunk of your life working. You should make the best of it. It would also mean a lot to me if you would leave a review for this podcast or share this podcast with your friends on social media. This week, we are going to be talking about one very important document that you need in your search for a job. It's called the CV or the resume. Most of you listening to this podcast already have one. This week, we are going to be talking about things that should not belong on that document. By definition, a CV is supposed to be just a summary of your qualifications and work experience for the purposes of getting an employment. But I'm going to tell you this. In my career, I have seen CVs that have frozen my blood. I've seen CVs that have made me almost roll on the floor laughing. People put the most amazing things on their CV. And a CV is not a joke. It's a very important document that you should take your time to put together. One other thing I've noticed is that in the spirit of faking it to making it, people put a lot of untruths and a lot of lies in their CVs. Sometimes I've received CVs that once I looked at it, I just knew this person was lying. People would sometimes put things like they single-handedly set up something. Then they did this, then they did that. Basically building themselves up to be maybe little supermen or superwomen as the case may be. You would obviously see that they were lying. So today, I will be talking to you about things you should never put on your CV. I'm going to have about 8 or 9 things that should not make an appearance on your CV. All right. The number one thing I would start with today is a photograph. I have seen a lot of people put their headshots in their CV. Some of those headshots would have them smiling, looking happy. Nobody wants to see your face on your CV. Please remove it. We don't want to see whether you are beautiful or handsome, or whether you have a nice smile, or whether your head is nicely shaped. Nobody really wants to know, and the employer doesn't need to see it. If you have your picture on your CV, unless you are an actor or an aspiring actress and you need to put a picture up there because your features are a big part of why they are even bringing you on board for that movie or that advertisement, then okay, yes, that's fine. But every other job, please get that photograph off your CV as fast as you can. The number 2 thing that should not be on your CV are things like vacation jobs, weekend jobs, part-time jobs, side hustle. Like when you worked in that pure water factory on Saturdays, helping them to load trucks. That shouldn't make an appearance on your CV. But on the other hand, I've also seen some people put those kind of experiences and call them management of water loading operations. You were just loading water into a van. It's nothing to be ashamed of, but you don't need to make it what it wasn't. So, remove all the side hustles. Keep only the relevant things you've done in your career. There are ways you can put the things you've done in your career in a better light and make the employer impressed with how much you've achieved. There are ways you can pattern the things you write in your CV that would make it good to look at. You don't have to have a 3, 4, 5 page CV. You don't have to put a lot of irrelevant experiences just so you can have a long CV that looks like you are very experienced, and then you can tell the employer, I want to earn this massive amount of money. No, you don't. It's not necessary. Number 3, remove all salary information from your CV. The employer does not want to know how much you are earning right now from your CV and does not want to know how much you want to be paid. I have seen some CVs where as they were putting their work experiences, they were putting the salaries they were earning right in front and on top of the CV, and that made me totally laugh. He put, I expect to be paid the going rate, or, and then put an amount. That is a total no-no. Nobody needs to know how much you are earning. It's personal information to you. Does not need to be on your CV. When you are having a negotiation with your to be employer. You can have that salary discussion, but it doesn't need to be on your CV. Take it off right now. This next point is a personal peeve of mine, and that is bad grammar and big words. They do not need to be on your CV. I have seen people use words on their CV that shouldn't be there. There's this very popular politician in Nigeria that does a lot of interviews where he would want to say things like, I went to the National Assembly, and he would say it over 2 minutes. He would use a lot of words, he would use a lot of confusing words just to say something very simple. And I've seen a lot of young people think that is a good way to talk, or that is a good way to write, and then go into their CVs and start to use words they looked up in a dictionary and just string those words together to make themselves look smarter. No. Simple is good. No. Simple is great. Use simple words. No need for big words. And also, bad grammar. Bad grammar is not good. Check your CV for spelling errors. I have seen too many CVs, and it puts employers off. It puts HR people off. It lets them know how much you did not take the time to put that CV or resume together. When you have so many words spelled wrong, you didn't check your spellings, you put commas where they are not meant to be. And you know the funny thing about commas is that they change sentences drastically. Use your Microsoft Word or whatever software you are using to put together your CV. Use them properly. And that's it. Watch out for bad grammar. Avoid big words. Sort out the spelling errors in your CV. This next tip is not something that should be on your CV. It's something that you should do. Build your CV yourself. You can use a template from anywhere. You can use someone else's template. You can use a website that would help you with templates and give you suggestions on things to put on your CV. But paying people to build your CV and then not reviewing it, it's not a bad thing to pay people to build your CV. But review your CV. Know it offhand. Don't put words you don't understand in your CV. Don't put generic statements in your CV. I'll tell you one very funny generic statement that was a running joke at one of my last jobs. It was, I work well under pressure. It just shows up in almost everybody's CV. You love to work under pressure. You work well under pressure. You thrive under pressure. And we would laugh when our boss at that time put us under pressure and we're stressed out. You say, but you put it in your CV that you thrive under pressure. I'm just making sure you are in the right environment where you can thrive. Really, build your CV yourself. Take time out to type in the words. There's something about doing it yourself that even helps you learn more about software like Microsoft Word, and then you become a better user. And also, it helps you to know every single thing you put in that CV. It is a summary of your own work experience and educational experiences. Make it yours. Do it yourself. Next tip. Remove abbreviations and technical jargon from your CV. I worked on the BBT of the PSL. I did the CMV of the OPL. The things that belong to specific industries or to specific companies, and then you want to show off how you did stuff that nobody else understands. Thank you. We know you are smart. We know you work in an industry that we would find hard to enter. But please, remove all the CMMS, EPS, all those other abbreviations that you are the only one that understands them. Remove them from the CV or write them out in long form. Next point. Many years ago, we would put together our CVs and then we would write out references at the end where we would put people's names, their phone numbers, their addresses, their email addresses as references. Then after a few years, a lot of us stopped and started to put references available on request at the bottom of our CVs. Well, it's time to remove that statement. The recruiters and HR people that get our CVs, they already know by the time they collect the CVs that references are available on request. Things that don't need to be on your CV should be removed. That statement doesn't need to be on your CV. Remove it now. The next thing that shouldn't be on your CV are unprofessional email addresses. You would need to put an email address on your CV for the potential recruiter or HR person to contact you. Some people I've seen have some very funny sounding email addresses. babywanajama@yahoo.com, freshcreamsuperstar@gmail.com. Those kind of email addresses do not belong on your CV. Open a fresh email address that sounds professional and put that on your CV. That other email address you have that you opened while you were a student and used a nickname that is not professional, remove it from your CV today. Next on this list is do not get overtly creative on your CV. Unless you are an artist anyway, or you are a creative. But every other person that feels the need to use things like funny fonts, creative graphics, patterns, extreme colors. What is it with pink CVs? Why is your CV pink? Why is it orange? Why would you use Comic Sans or some sort of cursive font on your CV? Use basic fonts. Use Times New Roman, Arial, Calibri. Use those simple fonts on your CV. Don't get too creative. Don't start putting pictures, putting funny shapes, putting the CV upside down just to show that you think outside the box. The employer is not interested in that. It needs your basic information set out in a simple format, easy to read, easy to digest. Get all your creativity out of that CV and just be creative in explaining the things you've done in your CV. The final tip for today: make sure you do proper typesetting and alignment of your words and the spacing of the words in your CV. I have seen CVs that were so jumbled together, they were difficult to read. I've seen CVs where the words were so misaligned. You'll be wondering whether the person even took its time at all to do the CV. And inside the CV, the person would put proficient with Microsoft tools, but you could not align the words on your CV, and you are proficient with Microsoft tools. Of course you are lying. So please, take time out, work on your CV, align the words, align the paragraphs, make it look symmetrical, make it look easy to read, make it look attractive to look at. If you start by removing all the things that I have pointed out in this episode, I assure you, you are on the path to having a much better CV, a CV that would cause employers to take a closer look at you. And I'll leave you with this. Your CV is packaging. It's packaging that tells a story of who you are. It is not who you are. Your genius, your unique genius, is the value you add in life. It is the unique impact that the combination of your personality, skills, talent, and story come together to make in the world. Believe this, you are a genius. Within you is potential that is unbelievably massive. Do not buy into the idea of average. Your CV is not you. You are special. You are a genius. Believe that. Even as you build your CV and as you push it out there, believe that you are something special that company needs to make themselves great. Once again, if you've enjoyed this podcast and it has been useful to you, please assist me to share on your social media platforms and also like and leave a comment or review. Thank you for taking time out to listen to this episode of the Undercover Guru podcast. Thank you very much. See you next time.